Welcome, everyone. We have another very special podcast today. Something that I love. One of the joys of my life is soccer or football, if you will. But first, I just want to say thank you to ClubGG, who is a sponsor of the podcast, where you can create clubs for free, play with your friends, and win hundreds of thousands of dollars in prizes. With that being said, I want to welcome Andrew Henderson, 5-time world champion freestyler, the best in the world. That's the deal that I have been told, and I've seen your stuff, and I don't doubt it. So, Andrew, thank you for being on, man. Pleasure to have you.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. Nice introduction as well, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I gotta say, this is again my love in life is soccer in America. We'll just call it that, since I know you're in UK, so of course football. But what you played rugby as well. Were you actually originally a rugby player or playing soccer? What was your kind of growing up? How did that work?
Yeah, so I started off, I played a lot of football. Football was like my first love, and then I kind of went into rugby. Where I grew up in the southwest of England, it was more like a rugby-based area. You got a lot of players that play for like England national team, grew up there and stuff like that. So it's more rugby focused, but I love football, and then I kind of just went into rugby. I played for about 10 years, something like that. So yeah, then transitioning into freestyle after a serious injury that I had playing rugby. So during my recovery, learning the freestyle tricks, and then got back into the football, but more on the skill side of doing freestyle football.
And I got to ask you, so the injury, because rugby, it's such a I'm not as familiar with the game, but it's more violent. It's sort of closer to American football. I don't feel like that's a natural transition to go from rugby to like a top skiller, to do soccer tricks. How did that work? I mean, were you just always did you like it before, or what made you dive into that?
Yeah, I think I'm like the only person that's ever gone from rugby into freestyle football, especially to the level of freestyle that I got to. But I think it's just, I don't know. I've when I was growing up, I just tried every different sport, and rugby was one that I loved a lot. But the thing with freestyle that I liked is the individual aspect of it. I've always been more of an individual sportsman. Even when I played football and when I played rugby, I was very individual with it. And with football, I never passed the ball when I played. I used to just dribble through everyone and score goals. And like everyone on the team kind of hated me, but at the same time, they loved me because I'd win the games for them.
Right.
But they never got the ball. And with freestyle, I don't have to pass the ball. So I guess it kind of was meant to be, really, when I started that. And actually, when I started freestyle, I wasn't that good at all. Like, it took me ages to learn the basic tricks, like around the world. It's kind of like the most sort of fundamental trick in freestyle, the most popular trick. It took me way longer than most of my friends, but I stuck with it. And then once I started learning the basics, then I just progressed at a rapid rate and went on from there.
And your injury was 2008, and then by 19 you had won your first world championship. So what age was that when you were in rugby? What is that? Is that when did you get the injury? At what age?
Yeah, so I was 16 when I broke my leg. Broke my leg in 5 places, got a metal plate and 9 screws in there.
Mm.
And then by the time I was 17, I became UK champion in freestyle by the end of that year. So about a year and a half later. Yeah, so when I was 17, won the UK nationals, and then by the time I was 19, won the worlds for the first time. Yeah.
So how long did it take to recover from that injury? Or were you starting to watch videos, learn about it? Did you have a plan? When did you decide that's what you wanted to do? And it sounds like it would be some decent recovery time, right? Or could you practice some things while you were still sort of injured?
Yeah, so I got told that initially when I broke it, they were like, "There's a good chance you won't ever be able to walk again," and because they had to do so many different operations on it, it was a really complex break, and they were like, "Well, you probably be able to walk again, but there's a chance you won't. But even if you do, you're definitely not going to be able to play sport again, and if you do, it won't be any contact sports." And I was like, that was just the worst feeling ever because that's all I cared about was playing sport. So as a 16-year-old kid that wanted to be a professional athlete, to be told never going to play sport again was just like heartbreaking. But during my recovery, seeing freestyle football skills, learning the basics, even when my leg was in its cast, I was trying to balance the ball in my head and stuff like that. So I could focus on something even when I was recovering. And I think that helped me develop a passion for it. Like, no pun intended, but it helped me get back on my feet essentially, and gave me some motivation. When I started walking again, started juggling the ball, started balancing on my foot, doing the basics, and then it just went from there. And just kept training, kept trying to learn new skills. And one thing that I think really helped me progress rapidly was just being so grateful and appreciative that I can just like even kick the ball again, let alone like learn skills. So I was like, okay, I've got to just got to get better. No excuses. Every day, hard
Yeah.
work. Appreciate every day. So yeah, it was quite a big one.
And you referenced there was a guy, Mr. Wu, legend of freestyle from South Korea. Was this one of the original guys that you saw that motivated you or thought you maybe you could take this career path?
100%. Yeah, Mr. Wu is a legend of freestyle. He must be like sort of late 50s, early 60s. He's approaching 60, I would say. I wouldn't say he's quite yet 60 years old, but an absolute legend of the game. And you know, he was before social media and that sort of thing. You know, there are clips of him online that you guys can find, but he was doing the original Nike ads. He was working with all the players, like, you know, 20 plus years ago, 30 years ago. And you know, he was a world champion as well about 20 years ago, I think. So yeah, he definitely paved the way for the sport. And for me, watching him, seeing him doing crazy skills that I thought were fake the first time I saw them,
Right.
yeah, it just blew my mind that someone could have that much control with the football. I found that more impressive than anything I'd seen with the football, even on the pitch, like during games, people scoring crazy goals. I thought, how can this guy keep the ball off the ground for 20 minutes doing crazy skills that I've never seen anyone else be able to do in front of thousands of people? And it looks easy to him. He's smiling, waving at them whilst doing the hardest tricks. Like, I want to be able to do that one day. And I think that was really inspiring, Mr. Wu. And then I've met him a few times now, and he sings as well. He's a mad man. He's a crazy guy, but he's a funny guy. And yeah, he sings a lot, and he's cool. So yeah, it's cool to be able to meet him and hang out with him as well.
This one right here, this is when I was growing up. I'm sure you're obviously familiar with him, Sufjani Tuzani. This to me, like this music, like, you know, like this whole thing, like I watched this video probably like, I don't even know. I have no idea, but this was like kind of early YouTube days too, right? And it was when I was playing. And this guy, this video right here, I think is like the most iconic video of freestyle. And where does he rank for you? And how do you have a relationship or know him personally?
100%. Yeah, I know Sofiane Tuzani personally. We're good friends, and that was the first video of freestyle that I saw as well. That was the one that I think that was probably the most motivating freestyle video that I'd ever seen. I actually downloaded it off, I think it was like LimeWire or something like that, and typed in football or something like that, and that video came up. And so many freestylers started from seeing this guy and this video in particular. And yeah, I used to watch it and try and find the strings attached to the ball. So I thought it was fake, and it isn't. And you know, now I watch the video, I'm like, it seems like it's in slow motion to me because the tricks are so basic in comparison to what today's level is.
Yeah.
And that shows how fast the sport's evolving and how far it's come. But yeah, Tuzani's a legend. I filmed with him. We've done performances together. We've done shoots together. He's judged me in some competitions. Yeah, it's just a pleasure to know that guy. And it kind of brings everything full circle. Because when I was a kid, he was definitely one of my idols in the sport. And yeah, man, he filmed when we filmed in London. He was doing a tour with a company called Trust and driving a Bugatti around London. So we drove around in a Bugatti together, and did some freestyle in like some parking lot around Knightsbridge. And he was talking about me like I was the guy that he watches.
Right.
That
Cool.
like freaked me out for weeks afterwards. I was like, man, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the guy. I've watched you like for weeks. I've watched that video, like you said yourself, Jeff. Like, you don't know how many times you watched that video. I don't know how many times I've watched that video. I still watch it sometimes. And if I ever hear that song, like,
that's the same thing, man. That song, it's iconic. It really is. Like, it gives you like goosebumps. It makes you just want to get out and play. But yeah, I mean, that's incredible. And you know, your accolades here. Looking, I didn't even see this before about the 2-time Guinness World Record you've won. I want to ask you about the 5-time world champion and what that all all entails and where that takes place. But first, the Guinness World Records. What are those two that you hold?
Yeah, so I've broke about 5 or 6 Guinness World Records officially, but unofficially I hold about maybe like I've broken maybe like 20 different ones. But sometimes the way things go, you need to keep that consistent practice with the moves to maintain that level, and then the time it takes to go and do the records and things like that. It's hard to fit in, but the two that I had there, I need to update that side a little bit. But the two that I had there, I think one was Maradona sevens, most Maradona sevens in a minute. I think, I've actually got them up here. I don't know if I can flip it, but I've got those Guinness World Records up here. Maybe I can show you. I'll just bring it.
Yeah,
I might just turn this.
Give us some flair. Let's see what's going on. Let's see the trophy. All right.
See those ones up there?
Okay. That's official. That's legit.
You got nice. Yeah. There we go.
Very nice. Very nice.
I got those 2 ones up there. That's actually one's for rugby freestyle up there, which would be crazy. That's another thing I just pursued as a passion project, really. I kind of made it up, I think. Like, no one was really doing rugby freestyle. It's not really a sport, but because I could play rugby and I got the freestyle skills, I thought, why not combine it? So one was doing tricks with the rugby ball, one was doing the Maradona sevens. I also broke one doing soul juggles, which is where you're lying down the floor doing tricks with the soles of your feet. The most longest time doing that. And then
how long is that? Because that seems very difficult, but obviously, is that more endurance and stamina, or just because you could kind of go forever, right? At some point,
exactly. It is one of those ones, like, once you get good at it, you can just keep doing it. It feels like you're kind of riding a bike. Once you learn how to ride the bike and you got the basics, it's just about riding it. But the thing with soul juggles is it hurts your core.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's one of those like, what is it and how long? Hours? I mean, a minute? Like,
I can't remember exactly the amount of time, but I know it's not hours. It's definitely less. It's less than 30 minutes.
Oh,
but
wow.
It's like, once you hit about like 5-6 minutes, your core starts burning so much.
Wow. So a good workout too.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's another way to another reason to get into the sport, I guess.
Yeah.
People don't realize it is quite physical as well, especially nowadays. It's getting more and more physical. The sport guys are having to take it super seriously, and got a lot of guys dedicating their lives to it. So,
and when it's 5-time world champion football freestyler, when was the first year that this became a official title? And like, give me a little bit of an idea how that works. How many people are competing? Do you have to win your nation to get to the final? Can anyone show up and compete in this and try to win? So tell me about how that works and where it takes place.
Yeah. So usually, like, typically a freestyle tournament, like a world championships or national championships, they have a select amount of players. So a lot of the time for the worlds, they have like the top 32 players will go into the tournament based off the rankings from other tournaments. And the structure of the tournament is you have like qualification rounds and stuff like that. But once you go through that, it's like straight knockout stages, kind of like in the World Cup of football. But you're on the stage, circular stage usually, and you're 1v1 against your opponent. You're battling, essentially. It's like a freestyle battle. So there's 3 minutes on the clock. I got the ball for 30 seconds. I pass to you for 30 seconds, back to me for 30 seconds. So we have 3 rounds, 30 seconds each. And then the judges decide who wins based on, there's a few different factors like technical difficulty, the flow and style of the moves, variation, sort of all-round performance, creativity. Coming up with new tricks in freestyle is a big deal, and how you combine them with transitions is a big deal. And responding to your opponent as well. Like, if he does a double around the world, you might be like, hey, okay. And then you do a triple around the world, you're going to get extra points for the response and like leveling up what they did. And obviously not repeating tricks throughout the competition is a big deal, and not dropping the ball. Although we are trying really hard tricks, so drops do happen in competitions a lot because you're pushing the limits. But
how much skill, how much of a gap is there between yourself and, let's say, the top 2-3 guys? Or is it kind of like when you go, like Balloon d'Or, right? With Ronaldo, Messi every year, it's like back and forth for a decade or more.
Yeah.
Is it something where you're looking at a guy and you're like, all right, I'm the favorite. This guy's number 2. It's going to be tight, or are you like, the odds? Everyone likes to gamble these days, right? That books everywhere. You're from the UK. Are you minus 180? Are you what's your odds to win in a 32-man competition?
Yeah,
5 in a row strong. That's hard. I mean, anything in the world that's competitive. So, I mean, that's, like I would assume you're a pretty big favorite.
Yeah. So for all the competitions that I entered, I was definitely the favorite. Especially after I won the first World Championships, but yeah, I became the favorite. But over the years, yeah, it's changed. Sometimes I'll be like the favorite by a long way. Sometimes it'd be like, okay, it's maybe between him and him. And that's the interesting thing as well about subjective sports, because it is a subjective sport. Some judges might prefer another style of freestyle over mine. That makes upsets happen occasionally and things like that. So I'm usually the favorite, but I definitely don't take that for granted.
Right.
Definitely makes me more hungry, because I feel like if you're the favorite, it's even harder to win, because in a subjective sport, they like to see upsets. So I can't leave any room for error. I feel like my chance of losing, if the battle's close, are like quite high.
Right.
And so it's my job to make sure that it isn't close. So I need to have that gap, like you were saying. I need to have that gap above everyone else. But nowadays, I'm not competing in freestyle anymore. I retired from the competitive side, but what I'm focusing on is like helping build a community, creating competitions and sharing things online, inspiring people that are getting into the sport, or even just to be healthy and active and that sort of thing. And I'm pursuing a few other things as well on top of that, a few other sports.
Oh wow! So that's it. That's your 5-time world champion. You're not going up from like when you won the last year or the year before. When did you stop
Yeah.
that? And I mean, what was the last one you won?
Yeah, so I might come back in. I keep getting asked to come
Everyone
back.
retires, man. Phelps, Jordan, Brady. Everyone
Yeah.
does it and comes back. So I'm not buying that you're out. You're too young, but okay, fair enough. So you're taking
So,
a break.
so the reason I retired actually is a couple of things. But so firstly, my goal was to be like outright the best freestyler ever, and to get 5 world titles. And at the time when I got it, no one had got more than 2. I just wanted to be in my own field, like that no one can touch me, be the best, and get 5. And the other 2 reasons, the next one's not such a nice reason, but it's kind of politics in the sport, like I didn't agree with certain ways of how it was going and things like that. So yeah, I had other stuff going on as well.
Right.
So I decided to follow that. And then the final one, which is an exciting one, is I always like training martial arts. And I always wanted to compete in martial arts. And I couldn't when I was competing in a high level of freestyle, because I just had to focus on that. So I was like, once I get 5, once I've achieved my goals in the sport, I'm going to go and I'm going to compete in mixed martial arts and start training, competing in that. And I had a fight in that, and I'm building up to the next ones now. And that's like a big thing that I'm doing. And I think people are excited about that. My audience are excited about that. They're a bit kind of shocked, but I think they're excited about it too. So that's another thing that I'm focused on. And of course, I'm still working with the players, still working with some of the best players in the world, still traveling around doing freestyle, still performing. I also manage other freestylers. So I'm very much in the freestyle world still as well.
Very cool. I see you juggling here with Neymar. I actually randomly got to do that as well when I was playing poker in Vegas. That was like with the size one
I
ball.
saw.
Yeah, it was fun. It's cool, but like for my question, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw that. That looked cool. He's a cool guy. I saw that video. You were inside the casino, right? You were like there.
Yeah, it was during the World Series. We played poker. It was like a small private thing, and one of my very good friends, Andre Akari, is very good friends with him. So I met him a few times, and he's literally one of those guys, right? He just immediately makes you feel at home, just fun, light, great energy, really, really great person. But I want to ask you about with superstars getting to play. I mean, you got Mbappe, Ronaldo, Neymar, the biggest names, Messi. I know Beckham, you've done stuff with, I believe, too. Like, so you're with the biggest names. You grow up, these guys are idols, right? In the world, you're playing with them. But like you said, sort of with Soufiane, they kind of idolize you because like they do, score goals, assists, amazing players, but like you're the best in the world at basically something that's fun for them. So how does that feel when you see Mbappe or Neymar sort of like gasp or like what the, because that's kind of wild, right? I mean, that's like kind of hard to really appreciate that, how that actually is and how crazy of a thing that is, like
Yeah.
it's like an NBA doing some cool dribbles or stuff where you got the best just kind of like in awe of you. Tell me what that's like.
Yeah, man, I'm so blessed with that. Like, I'm so lucky to be able to share something with those guys who are so elite and world class in football, and to be able to share something that they can't do or they haven't seen before with a football. Yeah, it's just an honor. Like, it's such a pleasure. And most of the guys that I worked with that are that level, they're so nice and they're so humble, and they're always asking questions. And at the time, I just kind of treat them like just just normal human beings, and
Yeah.
just having an exchange of skills. And I learn a lot from those guys too. Um,
Who is the best to date out of all these guys that are who are some that are just like you're like wow, because obviously we've seen tricks, Ronaldo, Neymar, they're kind of fun on the ball, right? Do a little more flashy stuff where they have at points in their career. But who is just kind of like wow, you're like wow, this guy's like naturally just like super sick. Like who stands out of all those superstars and freestyle ability?
Yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo's got some great skills because he can do a lot of step over stuff. Like back when he played for United the first time, he
Mhm.
was very, very skillful. And he's got a bit of freestyle skills. Um, Neymar has a lot as well. Neymar's got that Brazilian spirit. He's got the skills as well. Um,
Ronaldinho, I mean, he's also got some pretty insane stuff too, right? Have you done anything with him or
I
seen?
haven't. I've never done anything with Ronaldinho, and I would say that's like probably the one big one left. I would say now there's a few other guys coming through like Haaland and guys like that I haven't worked with, but yeah, Ronaldinho, man, yeah, he's definitely one of the OG sort of skills guys from football,
Yeah.
like legend. So definitely him. And then some other unexpected guys like Cafu's very skillful. Well, maybe people would expect that, I guess, Brazilian, and he showed some skills before. But yeah, Cafu. Christian Fuchs, who captained Austria but he captained Leicester City when they won the Premier League.
Yeah,
Uh, he's
5,001. That was pretty crazy. That was a decent place in sports history. That's for sure.
and him being a defender, but he's so skillful. I mean, we're very good friends, and I traveled a lot with him. Spent a lot of time at his place in New York. Good friends with him, and spent time with him and his family, and seeing him do skills as well and progress on that. He's got a lot of skills, and yeah, man, there's so many guys. I'm really blessed to be able to work with them, share my skills, and I think that helps break down the barriers of like a lot of these freestylers now. They're getting big on social media, so they're working with football players. But when they work with the football players, what happens is they are so starstruck by them. They don't like take anything in, they don't take it in properly. They don't communicate that well with them. And
Yeah.
it's like they have a disconnect. But with me, it's like I'm just super chilled to be there and be with them because I don't know, I just feel like we have an exchange and that breaks down the barriers. So it's just like it's not really like I don't feel like starstruck, except for when I met Beckham. Like I felt like pretty
Have you have you thought? Is there any sort of is it moving forward towards some partnerships with like specific clubs or like academies? Like, is this? Can you explain the industry a bit right now? Like how popular, how fast growing? You hear pickleball in the U.S., right? Fastest growing sport in America. Then there's flag football. It's like it's different sort of touch than what It's just different, but it's in the same genre. Is there a league? Is there stuff developing? Is there teams? Is there like? Could you give me a little bit of a big picture on what's happening with freestyle football?
Yeah, so freestyle is in a really interesting point because a really interesting stage now because there's a lot of freestylers that are getting massive on social media. So people are seeing freestyle. They don't really know what it is. They don't know if it's like a sport and entertainment, both,
Right.
or just like flashy skills. So like more people know me for my skills and videos online, than me winning world championships and watching me win world championships. So the entertainment side of freestyle is at an all-time high, and it's just growing so fast. But the sports side of freestyle, in terms of the competitions and the visibility of that, it hasn't progressed. The level of skill has progressed massively, but the structure, the money that people are getting paid to compete, like you said, leagues and stuff like that, hasn't really progressed. It's just kind of going around in circles. Like they create one event, it's got a load of hype. They say there's going to be 5 more events next year. There's only 1 or 2, and they're kind of half-assed. So what we really want is that there's partners that partner with the sport develops massively. And to be honest, I was a big advocate of that. We need bigger prize money. We need like a better system of judging and organization, because this sport can be massive. Everyone loves it. You wouldn't get these views online if people didn't like it. And it's that linked to football so closely that it could be so big. It's very entertaining. And the competitions are so awesome to watch. Like when people go to it, they all come back like that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. But the brands that are associated with it and the federation itself, they don't see big enough. And what I was always pushing for, especially as a world champion, like ambassador of sport, was we need to get this bigger. We need to make this big. And they didn't deliver. And I kept pushing for long enough. And I was like, guys, I can only push for so long whilst competing. I'm pushing this and I'm training at the same time. So I left and I pursued my other things. And
it seems to me similar, like where I would imagine, I don't know the prize. What's like, give me a first prize for the world champion stuff. Because I would imagine it's not about, for you, obviously, you're dealing with the biggest stars in the world. You're getting campaigns from agencies and what. So it's sort of like profile building. It's not like a crazy grand prize. Like, is it listed as a public what first prize is? Or is it more of a notoriety thing than the money and that capacity that sort of leverages and builds your brand?
Yeah, it's more of a notoriety thing, but the reality of it is it's like you have to do it yourself. You have to build your own social media following yourself. Having a world title and stuff can help and can give you something to market, I guess. But you know, you don't need a world title to be successful in the sport, and you just need to have entertaining videos now and be viral and that sort of thing. So
the content side is so fascinating with what's happening. Like are you familiar with #United?
Yeah.
So like this club here, you know, basically is built, like they're building profiles, all their players. They have the men's, the women's team, and it's like they're getting huge views and making like a story and whatnot. What are your thoughts about sort of taking like this sort of model to build and become a club? Because I mean, I guess in theory they could become in UK, right? You go up the ranks, Division 5, 4, all the way up the championship. You know, do you think this is a sustainable in a like what are your thoughts on kind of this type of model of building a team and becoming like a content sort of powerhouse?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really interesting, and if it's something's interesting, people are gonna eat it up. You know, they're gonna enjoy it because that's all it needs to be. Interesting, and they're consistent with it. They're following it through, and they're doing a good job. Then they've got a big vision with it, and just having that vision, even if they deliver on it or not, they're pursuing it, and it's about that journey, isn't it? It's not about the end destination. So I definitely think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing, and you know, I know Spencer personally, and I like his visions with these things, and I know he's pushing hard with that. So yeah, definitely all the best of luck to those guys, and yeah, I'm sure it'll go well. And one thing I was thinking with the freestyle thing to compare it to, so people can maybe understand of the situation where the sport's at. It's kind of like if you know skateboarding, like the X Games and Tony Hawk, like freestyle's in the position in terms of the sport anyway, is where skateboarding was before Tony Hawk did the 900 in the X Games, and the PlayStation games came out, and it kind of blew up the sport and made it insane, and the competition prize money went like through the roof, and everything just went nuts. Every kid wanted to be like Tony Hawk, you know. So that's what needs to happen for freestyle football. And the people in charge, the bosses at the top of the sport pulling the strings, they're not doing a good enough job. So
Is that something, would you, and you said you're sort of segueing moving, is that something, would you like to, if there was an official, like a FIFA, if there was like a board or a brand,
yeah, there is.
but is that something you want to be a part of, like where you're managing or on the board or making decisions? Is that, you said, is that passion for you? Is that something you'd like to do? Or do you just feel like it's not quite the time, you're still doing what you're doing and then maybe come into that later as it grows?
I like all the guys so much that are involved in that. We've been all good friends for years. Obviously, I grew up competing and giving my life to the sport and many, many years of dedication. So I got nothing but respect for those guys. But I have been offered to be a part of that, and they've offered me a role within that, and I declined it because I don't think that they've got the vision, and I don't think that I will have a role that will be able to change enough. So for me personally, if I do it, I'm gonna do my own thing, and I'm gonna maybe build my own thing, and that's a big commitment. And I'm an athlete still in other ways. Of obviously, I'm doing the content side, but I'm competing in the martial arts as well. So right now, I'm focusing on that. I know it's a little bit selfish, maybe, to just focus on that and not focus on the sport of freestyle. But until I have a clear vision of how I can make that the sport blow up, I'm gonna keep pursuing what I'm pursuing. And I'm always thinking about it, though. Always thinking about what it was like for me when I won world championships and I was promised the world, but they didn't give it to me. So yeah.
I got to put you in touch with my buddy Patrick Leonard. I don't know if you play any poker or aware of anyone playing poker, but he's sort of segued and he's got a team called Newcastle Independent, basically building a team from scratch and come up the ranks. They also do some content stuff and very motivated. I want to put you guys in touch. I think you'd hit it off. Is that something? Have you ever thought about playing in a league, like coming, like playing on a Sunday league or a division? Where do you think you would fit in, like in your peak shape now after you've started winning? Now you said you're doing different stuff, right? Let's say 2-3 years ago, or as you've rehabilitated, where do you think you could fit in? Like, do you have a ability to play soccer at a high level at this point? Because it doesn't translate, of course, and you've just focused on skills. So it's, you're not conditioned for games, but what position would you play? And do you think, where would you fall right now? What league could you just pop into with like a couple months training right now, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. It'd be hard to say, but I definitely couldn't play at the top level right now. No way. My mindset is that if I pursue anything and I want to do it, like, I'm going to be the best at it. That's my mindset. So, for me with football, like when I was a kid, I wanted to be the best football player in the world. I wanted to play for England. I want to play for United alongside like the best players.
Right.
That was my goal when I was a kid. And then I started playing rugby and moved on to the freestyle. And as soon as when I started playing rugby, I wanted to play for England. I wanted to be one of the best players. When I did freestyle, it was the same with that. And now my mindset, I'm crazy. I know, like, it sounds crazy, but when I do martial arts, I want to be the best. So even when I'm doing martial arts, sometimes I train with some guys in the UFC, and they submit me, or they're beating me up, and I'm thinking, my mindset is like, why is this happening? Like, I need to get better than these guys. I can't. I'm angry at that, but then I'm like, this is ridiculous. This guy, like one of my friends, Marvin Vettori, is like top 4 in the world for middleweight in MMA, and I'm training with him, and he's like, destroying me, of course. And I'm like, come on, I should be beating this guy. Like, even though I shouldn't, I shouldn't even be contending or competing. I'm doing well to even,
right.
It doesn't go like full blast, but sure, but
Make it to that. That's for sure.
My mindset, so.
And I know you do have to run. I have so many questions I want to ask you, but I know you're on a tight schedule. I did want to ask, who do you support? I think you're from southwest of England. So who's your club team? Who's your team? Who's your main team?
The nearest club there is Plymouth Argyle, but I would say for me, like, I'm pretty much neutral. I'd say like probably.
See Chelsea. I see you wearing some Chelsea jerseys in your videos. Is that?
Well, now I live in London. I live near Chelsea, so I live kind of halfway between the training ground and the stadium. So yeah, I like working. Like, I like doing stuff with the Chelsea team. I definitely support them in most of their games.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just enjoy watching good players play. Like, I'm really enjoying watching Erling Haaland play this season, like just smashing in all the goals. Like, it's so sick to see, that next sort of evolution of the game. Even Mbappe coming through, guys like Phil Foden are doing well for England, and obviously he plays for City as well, right? But like Mason Mount, guys like this. So yeah, I just enjoy good football and watching good players. So I'm not really like a glory supporter, but I'm like more a glory
yeah, watching great players develop and sort of push the game to new levels. That World Cup was incredible. I don't know. I mean, that was obviously disappointing for England, but pretty sick games. And that final seemed scripted. Didn't even seem like real life. That was probably the sickest game of all time. It's crazy.
Weirdest game of football ever, man. Like the first 60 minutes, I was like falling asleep. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I had the opportunity to go out there for it. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't go for the final. After the 60 minutes, I was like, oh no, I should have gone. I missed victory.
Too crazy. But yeah, listen, I really do appreciate the time. Like I said, I know you got a lot going on, and hopefully we'll have you on again in the future, and more titles, more business. And I get it. It's fascinating to me. It's something that I guess as I let you go, I do want to ask myself. I played soccer through college, right? I was center midfielder. Played, have some ability. American though, right? American. So like we gotta, it's how it is. It's different. It is different. It matters. It matters. Listen, respect, but we're not quite there. How hard would it be? I'm 36 years old to sort of, if I feel like you were to kind of help train me, or someone help train me and do it. Like, is it about the effort and the reps? Like, how hard is it to get to a level of, I like to say like golf, you go from like 120 to like a 90, obviously to get down, right, to shave strokes at the top, it gets like the tricks and the difficulty, but to be able to do some cool step overs and some of the basic stuff that looks cool, how much time would that take and effort for someone who has some soccer football ability to get to a level of freestyling that's like respectable?
At least 2-3 years. Like,
wow.
Yeah, at least maybe 3. I'd say 3 years. Yeah, if you take to it very well and you train very hard, 2.5 years from having a decent footballing ability to get to an all right level of freestyle. To get to a top pro level of freestyle, you're looking at minimum 4 or 5 years.
Wow. But you're saying like hours a day, like 5 days a week, or pretty much every day, just spending hours on the ball?
Yeah, you need I'd say like minimum 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, like minimum.
Jeez.
So yeah.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. All right. Well, put that on for next year's New Year's resolution. That sounds a little more. I got a 3.5-year-old, another on the way. I don't know if if I can carve out 3 a day, but that does seem like honestly, it seems so fun and just something cool to be able to be able to play and do that kind of stuff at any moment. So yeah, man, I appreciate it. Andrew Henderson, this is podcast number 183. I appreciate your time. And where should people follow you? If they got one place to go, which one? I know we just showed a bunch of different socials. What are you most active on? Instagram, TikTok, or a little of everything?
Yeah, I would say a little of everything, mainly Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, even the YouTube, but I'd say Instagram, TikTok. Just Andrew Henderson. You guys are gonna find me. I post videos with all the players that we mentioned, but also like traveling around the world, performing skills, doing all that sort of thing as well. And I'm gonna be fighting soon as well. So I'm gonna be boxing. And then I'm going to be fighting in the cage as well. So I'll be posting that stuff. If you want to check that out, it's a bit different, but I'll be doing that too. So that's the kind of content I'll be putting up. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I appreciate you so much, man. Really a pleasure to talk with you, and I wish you continued success. This was really informative. And guys, please give Andrew a follow and be aware that this is it's a growing sport. It's a growing thing, and great to have the world champion, the best, on the show today. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure. Been a pleasure talking to you. Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers, my man.